We've talked before about uranium exploration, gold mine exploration, and so on, and how you opened up the possibility for applications to explore. And, I was kind of concerned about that. A lot of people are. And you assured me, the Premier assured me, there'd be lots and lots of discussion before anything really happens. And lo and behold, there's a new gold mine announced. Bang. Uranium exploration's been announced. Bang. We have the Mi'kmaq leaders in Nova Scotia who are required to be consulted before such things happen, and no consultation. And I'm a little bit miffed at you and your government and wondering, how come?
So I can answer that very quickly, Bill. There actually was consultation on that gold mine, and actually the Mi'kmaq are actually partners on the gold mine that was announced. They still have to go through their environmental approvals and assessments. What was announced was the land lease that the company can actually fulfill their commitment to do what they need to do for a crown lease. And this land has already been an industrial site. It's an historic gold mine from a century ago almost. And through the development of this over the last 5 years, the Mi'kmaq partners have actually been involved with this and encouraged this. I think what you're speaking about is the committee yesterday that heard from some Mi'kmaq that a Mi'kmaq chief that wasn't consulted didn't feel that they were consulted on certain things. As the Premier's been very elaborate, as projects come to that point, every project will have that full consultation with their First Nations and our communities that are involved. So there's a bit of a story out there that isn't necessarily carrying the full details of what actually came out of the legislative committee yesterday.
Well, and it's not just that. I mean, you had the legislation that opened up the discussion on mining and all the other things, and consultation was going to take place. But then the actual announcements of activity have followed very, very quickly. The appearance is that there wasn't much time for consultation in between. Now, you mentioned about one Mi'kmaq leader was upset not being consulted. There are a number of Mi'kmaq leaders across the province. There is a federation of Mi'kmaq that kind of represents all of the tribes. One wonders then, what is the process for consulting the Mi'kmaq? Surely you're not expected to go from tribe to tribe, community to community, or are you?
No. What it goes through is through Well-New Affairs in our department, and it's on a project per project basis. It's not necessarily on specific RFPs for exploration or a piece of legislation. It's on a project per project basis, and as a department, we take our lead from Well-New Affairs where consultation has to take place. And I've been very clear with my counterparts at the First Nations chiefs that have worked with me very often. Most recently on the moose hunt issue that took place last year, and we have a great relationship to the point that the chiefs had invited me out for some meetings and to take part in some of their community events, and I learned a lot through that, and I still have communications with them, but it's on a project per project basis. As I said, for the example of the gold mine, a lot of the consultation has already taken place to the point that some of the First Nation communities are actually partners with the gold mine if it were to come to fruition. But as I've said, they still have to go through some of the permitting through the Department of Environment. But the announcement last week about that gold mine was specifically about a crown lease that was on an industrial site already.
Now, of course, you have a ministerial colleague, and you talk about All-New Affairs. That would be the department of government that deals with the Mi'kmaq. And Minister Martin was on the program, and we've invited her back again to talk about greater issues. So are you saying then, in fact, that when there is an issue that requires consultation with the Mi'kmaq, that it'll be Minister Martin who leads that discussion?
No, we take the lead on how the process would go. They communicate quite closely with the committee of KMKNO, which represents the communities in the First Nation communities, and the chiefs have a seat at that table. So we take their lead on the legislation when consultation does have to take place and such. And I know the Premier and Minister Martin have met with some of the First Nations chiefs and talked through that. So some of these conversations, despite what media did report yesterday, these conversations are taking place.
One wonders, though, when you're going to propose legislation in the House in a sitting, wouldn't it make sense that there be some consultation with the Mi'kmaq? We're not talking about a friendly gesture here. We're talking about a very clear requirement that's been recognized nationally and internationally because of the hundreds of years old treaties signed with the Crown way back during the early days of colonization. And it was only in recent years that we began to realize that we have a responsibility to share our conversation with them, in our case, Mi'kmaq in Nova Scotia, but the Indigenous people right across Canada. So wouldn't it make sense that there be some kind of dialogue take place in a formal nature prior to the legislation taking place in the House?
So, as I said, we take the lead on when the consultation and communication has to take place from New Affairs, and I can say I've been in the legislature since 2018, and I know that there are times where New Affairs, it doesn't matter what government it is, would recommend that there has to be a conversation take place before legislation, and sometimes New Affairs no, there's no need for the consultation now. It would be on a project for project basis. So absolutely, the New Affairs and Minister Martin, who is a member of the First Nations community in Nova Scotia, take this very seriously. So we always look at the opportunity to have communication, but when it's legally the duty and the responsible duty to do the proper full consultation, our government and previous governments have always taken that very seriously, and we'll follow that.
Well, I'm a little concerned when you say when it's legally required. I think there's a moral requirement personally. So I just a word of caution that if you're going to take a legal perspective on it, then I think you could expect to end up in legal court. If you take a moral, if you take a moral stance, you might be a little more general in nature.
I think you're taking my words out of context, Bill. I made two statements there. There's the conversations that take place, but then the legal responsibility, the legal process for consultation. So there's two things. There's conversations that do take place, but then when it gets time that it is, yes, here's the legal requirement for the consultation. That's when the process starts from both parties, through New Affairs, the First Nations community, and the respective projects that are taking place. I don't want to be misrepresented sort of there, Bill, that those conversations aren't taking place. I made two statements there that conversations absolutely and education on both sides, but there is a time and a place that is the binding time that it has to be respected from both sides, and that those aren't terms that I'm using outside of any conversations that I have with my First Nation chiefs counterparts. They expect the conversation to take place, and they have them with me. But they also talk about the time that the actual formal legal consultation has to take place. That there's respect that process is followed. And I've never had the two chiefs that I work with closely come to me and share the concerns that I as a minister or this government are not following that duty. Maybe some robust further conversation, but that's anything that does take place with government and things move. To be honest, there are stakeholders that are missed out sometimes, and you've heard the Premier say, you've heard me say it. But when we get things wrong, we'll go back to the drawing board and start having those conversations as well and fix things.
And I've come to know you, and I certainly respect what you've just said. My concern, I guess, is that it goes beyond you and beyond your department. It includes all the other departments and the Premier. And I come back to something I've said before a few times. That which is perceived as real is real in all its consequences. And sometimes the perception may be wrong, but the perception will cause trouble too. So enough said on that. Speaking of things that are wrong, I understand we're looking at more theft of copper taking place in Cumberland South. Yeah, no, I think this is number fourth or fifth time that communications cable's been cut in the River Harbour Joggins area, and they've been without telephone. They were without telephone service, 911 service. Obviously, you can appreciate internet service as well. And I got a message early Saturday morning. I was actually getting ready to head to Parisbrook for the plant sale that we talked about last week. But the very important message was our cable's been cut and stolen again. So I spent a lot of time on Saturday actually trying to reach somebody from Bell Alliant. To get the technicians, and a lot of time on Sunday as well. And
very disappointed in the response from Bell. To be very honest, Bill, and I don't say that lightly because I don't get on here and criticize companies or individuals. But I was very disappointed with the response from Bell. These people were without not just internet and communications, 911 services. And as you know, we have the biggest population of seniors per capita in the province. And there's a lot of times where they need to reach out to their loved ones as well and make sure that people are safe. So that it was very upsetting on Saturday and Sunday with the lack of response that we got from Bell. And look, right off the bat, I was talking with the municipality and some of the residents on Saturday and Sunday. And yes, I understand that the cable has been replaced again. But sort of enough is enough. And I sort of challenged Bell Alliant. We need a resolution here. We can't continue to do this every 3 or 4 months, have a piece of cable cut. And the residents in that area certainly deserve better.
Well, no question, and I appreciate that you don't want to be critical of the companies per se, but I'm not so shy. And when it comes to communications companies, Bell is among the worst of them, and I suspect it goes back to the fact that they used to have a monopoly. Bell used to run the phone system right across Canada. They owned it all, and you had to do what they told you to do, and there was nothing you could say, do, or anything about it. And I think they've carried that arrogance even into the breakup of the company and the competitive nature of the business today. When you try to talk to Bell about something, they just keep repeating their party line. They just keep repeating their policy. And even if the policy is wrong or seems wrong, they won't talk to you. And your point, I think, is that there was a break and it happened to be on the weekend and they're taking the weekend off. And they couldn't care less about somebody who can't call 911. I would be most upset. Maybe you need me to call Bell on the weekend because I don't hold back.
Yeah, and actually, being in Halifax this week, I'm actually engaging the Minister of EMO and having a conversation. If you recall, during the Hurricane Fiona, post-hurricane, the Premier had some harsh words for some of the communication companies that were not responding to the needs of the citizens. So, look, this is just as important in River Hibbert as it is anywhere else in Joggins, as it is anywhere else in Nova Scotia. So, but it's going to be highlighted of the Minister of EMO to see if she can utilize her avenues with Bell Alliant as well. And but at the end of the day, we need a resolve here. This cannot keep on happening. And as I understand it, it's not the only community in Atlantic Canada that has faced this issue a couple times. So it's something that we need resolution for the citizens.
Now, I noted right from the get-go that you have another appointment and another calling that you can't duck or you can't miss. So you have to go soon. But we always end on topics of real human interest, if you will, the social side of your job and the community activities taking place on the weekend. Anything up this week?
Well, to be honest, I haven't even looked at my schedule for this weekend. I know there's lots of different events taking place this weekend. Just a quick note, out of talking with some residents out of River Hibbert and Joggins, a question came up about the resurfacing of the Mik'maq Bridge, and just while I'm on the air, and a lot of people listen from River Hibbert and Joggins area, Bill. So just quickly, there was a tender that was called in 2023 for the resurfacing of it, and nobody bid on that tender. So I'm working right now with the area manager and the director that they didn't retender it last year. I don't know why, but certainly working on that. But I don't know what the schedule is going to bring this weekend. I'll be out and about somewhere. But just a quick note that on Monday is our NSCC local graduation ceremony at the Cumberland campus in Spring Hill. I'll be taking part in that. So just an opportunity to say congratulations to all the graduates that are going to be walking across the stage on Monday. I'll see you there and look to celebrate with you.
So you're going to get your certificate finally, is that what you mean?
I'm actually a graduate of NSCC, so as minister, I get to say a little statement on behalf of the government. So it's always an honor to be able to take part and celebrate the achievements of the students at the community college. It's always a great endeavor and a great event. So looking forward to it.